The number one reason why salons fail, how to prevent it, and what you should do instead to make sure your salon is a success. Hi, I'm Kayla Swanson, and I'm your host of the Profitable Salon Owner Podcast. And this episode is brought to you by Salon Scale, the ultimate salon back bar management app. Built by salon owners for salon owners. Salon Scale is designed to turn the salon back bar into a profit center, manage back bar formulas, product cost, and inventory right from your fingertips. And hanging out with me today is Jason Everett. What's up, Jason?
I know that guy.
I know him too. If you know him, you probably know him. He's been on here.
I'm familiar. I'm familiar with that guy. People always ask me, like, Jason, can you give me your ID? And I'm like, yeah, here, I know this guy. Like, what?
Yeah, here's a person I know.
I think I know him.
If you are new to the podcast, you might not know that the first 100 episodes of this podcast, Jason hosted it, and now he gets to be a guest.
Now I get to be a guest on sort of my own show, but it's your show. It's all good. I'm just happy to be here, and I hope that I can drop some knowledge bombs that people go, damn, that's what I needed to know today. That's my goal. If we do that, rock and roll. And I sound extra raspy. So if you hear me squeak like a 14-year-old boy, that's what we're dealing with.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, it's just his voice.
I'm not 14.
Just move along. Yeah, not quite. So today we are talking about the number one reason why salons fail, which I think is a really powerful conversation to have because, like Jason, you've given the statistic before that like most salons aren't even making profit. So tell me that statistic.
Yeah, it's 7% of salons actually, and I saw this survey a long time ago, but it's at 7% of salons make a profit, 20% are breaking even, and the rest of them pay every day to go to work. And I think it ties into what you talked about is what's the number one reason why salons fail is because there's an area in their business or a business blind spot that they don't know, and that causes them to go out of business. Normally, it has to do with money and finance. It doesn't always have to do with money and finance. Sometimes it's an example of like, and that's what I'm saying. The number one thing, get it out of the way early, a blind spot. That's what it is. The number one thing is a blind spot in your business that takes you out at the kneecaps. And by the way, that blind spot can be something like you don't know how to be a good leader. And so you inadvertently trigger a salon walkout and then your salon goes out of business, right? Or you all your staff leaves to go to rental because you don't know how to have a conversation about the difference between booth rental versus commission, or you don't know how to manage your finances. And so you end up getting hit with some, financial penalty and it's more money than you have and it takes you out of business. Like that happened to like hundreds of salons went out of business in California because of that, is they were operating inappropriately. The government started cracking down on it. And they're like, well, I didn't know any better. And the government's like, not an excuse.
Not my problem.
Closed. $1 million worth of fines. Your salon is train wrecked. And so I don't know if your salon owner that's listening to this today is like, what is my blind spot? But the number one question you should be asking yourself through this podcast today is, what's a blind spot that I have that I don't know about? And just by sheer definition of blind spot, another word for blind spot, by the way, is scotoma. It's a big word. Scotoma. A scotoma means a blind spot somewhere that you physically can't see. And this is why having a coach is so important, is a coach can say, look out behind you, because you can't freaking see behind you. If I'm like, Kayla, behind you, like somebody who is outside of your perspective looking at your business will always see things that you don't see yourself. Yeah. And I think, honestly, Kayla, that's been my claim to success in the salon spa space is I'm not a salon owner. So a lot of times salon owners that fail at being a salon owner and sell their salons and then go and become coaches. I had somebody tell me that. They're like, well, my salon wasn't doing well, so I started this coaching. I sold my salon and started a coaching business. I'm like, great, good for you. You know what I mean? And it's like, for me, not being a salon owner gives me some superpowers to say, hey, I actually don't put up with all the BS excuses that a normal salon owner would, because I'm like, I'm a business person. I've run several successful businesses and have grown this company to be what it is today with our team and our partners and all that stuff. But I can see blind spots really fast for salon owners that can't see their own blind spots, because they're like, that's just the way it is, Jason. You don't understand. Stylists don't want to sell retail, or, they don't want this front desk only work that way because of whatever. Like, that's BS. That's a fake belief that you have about the salon spa business. And that's a blind spot.
For sure. I love that, because I think that's true for, honestly, I feel like everything in your life, like you get so in the weeds of what you're doing, you get so focused on like, I'm just building this, and you take circumstances and you take it as Bible, and you're like, well, this is what's happening, so this is what's reality. And it does take somebody stepping out of it. It's why people go to counseling. It's like, hey, we need a third opinion. There's so many times in life when we go seek out other people's opinions or other people's perspectives. And I love what our academy does is not only do we have you and Doug just giving dynamite advice, but we also have a group of people who have found success in so many different areas. So you get in front of people and be like, okay,
Yeah.
how are you successful in this area? And what is my blind spot? And you almost don't see your blind spots until you see other people having success in the areas that you don't.
You know, it was funny. I was just on a call a few minutes ago with one of our owners, and I, like, full secret, the best ideas usually don't come from Doug and I. It's not from us. It's from other people. I know that sounds crazy, right? Like, what other coaching firm would say, don't come to it for advice from me, come to it from the advice from the community. But one of our owners I was just on the phone with inside the academy, and she was like, we were on the phone, we were on Zoom, we were Zooming. And anyway, I'm on the video with her. And she said, you know, Jason, I was sitting next to a salon owner one time, and I won't say their name, but I was sitting next to a salon owner, and I was looking at her plan, and her plan had more money than my plan, and she had half the staff. Wow. And she's like, something's wrong. Like, I have double the staff, and like I have the same or less amount of money. She's like, I need to fix that. And she's like, it revealed to her a blind spot that she thought she was getting the most out of her staff, and then saw somebody else that had the same or better revenue with half the staff. And she was like, that's a blind spot reveal. It's a slap in the face, right? Like, right? Is all of a sudden you get this aha or this insight or something from somebody else. And here's the thing. I think a lot of people are waiting for somebody to tell them what other blind spots are. Sometimes they just get revealed. And I say, that's the thing the Academy does the best, is we reveal blind spots for you, which I think is really exciting.
You don't know until you know it.
Exactly. And it's your fault for not knowing, but we fix the problem and make it happen.
So essentially, like, get yourself in a place that, like, you recognize first that you have a blind spot somewhere. If you feel like your business is not where you want it to be, or you see, like, why is this business across the street more successful than me? Or why is this happening? It means
you have a blind spot, damn it.
Exactly. And so recognize that first, and then take steps you need to, and just be open to, what is my blind spot? And if you honestly take that from this and you go into next week looking for your blind spot, it will start to reveal itself to you. You will see like, oh, that's the area that I need to work on. Yeah.
You know, I want to go on a little rant here for a second. I know when you love when I get fired up, but like, you know what my biggest pet peeve is, Kayla, is when somebody says, I learned all I need to learn from you. I'm good. I've learned all I can from you. And I call BS on that all the time, because all it means is they're done looking for blind spots. And it's like, I see it all the time. People are like, no, I'm good. I've learned what I need to learn. And like, whether it just means they don't want to learn from that person anymore or whatever else, I mean, I guess that's fine. But I would just say, if you feel like you've completed your learning on something, that becomes its own mother effing blind spot. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I wish I could cuss, but I'm trying to be nice, because you're in the car listening to this with your kiddos, and I'm assuming that they are listening to the sultry sounds of Jason and Kayla on the podcast.
Are you ready to increase your retention and revenue and convert website traffic to clients? Then you're ready for Maya. Maya creates better business relationships by pairing the right clients with the right beauty professionals. Use promo code HPSA for your first 2 months free. Visit joinmaya.com to get started.
We're Forest, born on the salon floor and built for and by hair and beauty professionals like you. Forest is your marketing, your reporting, your reputation management. You need one easy-to-use system that does it all. Forest, together we grow.
Are you tired of not knowing what your hair color is costing you? With Salon Scale, we take the guesswork out for you, so you can cover your back bar expenses, reduce your color waste, and generate more profit in your salon. Click the link in the description to get 10% off your first year.
But like, I'm serious, man. Like, if you feel like you've learned all you need to learn, because I meet saloners all the time. They're like, well, what do you have that I don't already know? And I go, I don't care what you already know. I care what you do. Right. And like, I might tell you stuff you already know, but my job is to help you get results from what you already know. Because my guess is, and if we're really honest, how many of us know things that we should be doing and we're still not doing it? If you don't say yes to that, you're a fucking liar. I'm sorry I said I wasn't going to cuss in front of your kids, but I'm just saying, like, that's the reality, man, is that at the end of the day, you're a effing liar if you say that you do everything you're supposed to do. My guess is, with food, with fitness, with your business, with your relationships, with your spouse, with your children, with whatever, there better be something that you know that you're not doing. That's what it means to be a better person.
Yeah. You can't think that you've arrived. You can't think like, oh, well, I've arrived. Like, I am the best.
I'm done.
Human.
I'm cooked.
Yep.
I'm finished.
Yeah. I love that, because I think that if anybody does feel like if you aren't learning and growing, then you're defaulting to your instinct, and our default instinct is based off of our past traumas, our past experiences, based off of what we've already established that we think that we know. And so if you're not growing and learning, then you are stuck operating in that state, and then that's just operating over past things, and we all know that's not, well, maybe we don't all know, but you should know that's not a way to start to build your business.
That's right.
So I love that. So let's dive into more of this. So we are talking about the number one reasons why salons fail, and that is
Blind
your blind
spot.
spots. So, and after dropping all that, so hopefully you're like, you feel that. Let's start to help our audience start to, how do you start taking the steps to move through that? What are the exercises? What are the things that really come into play to start to change that and recognize the blind spots? And what do we do about it?
So one of the best places to start as far as, figuring out what are some of your blind spots, we have a tool that we do inside the academy called the Salon Success Test or the Salon Success Quiz. And what it does is it takes a look at 9 different areas inside your business and asks you a bunch of questions, some of which you might not know the answer to. Like, for example, it's going to say, what is your RTS? What's your commission for your back bar? Like, do you create a profitable back bar system? Have you done your capacity utilization? Do you know what your business break even is? And it asks all these questions that a lot of times, if you were to just ask a generic, any rando salon owner off the street and just say, do you know these things? Sometimes they're gonna be like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And if you go through and you ask those questions, that should be the first step in revealing what some of your blind spots are. Because if you don't know the term capacity utilization, and you might be like, well, I kind of know, I think I know what that is. That's not what that means. And if you don't know what RTS stands for, you might know a version of it. You need to figure it out. Now, some people probably listen to this. Jason, I know what all those things are. Clearly, there's nothing that I don't know. Go take the dang quiz. And if you go online, I think it's highperformancesalon.com/quiz, or we'll put the link somewhere around here.
I will. If you text, I'll have a text number in the description. Just text the words quiz and I will send you the link.
Yeah. And what I would just say is it's a good place to start looking for what are those blind spots that you have inside your business, because it'll start to reveal even the best salon owners in the world, when they take that quiz, they're like, man, there was 2 or 3 things that I just didn't know that was on there. And that's step one, is like, start to get some metrics. It's like somebody said the other day, they're like, oh, Jason, if you don't know your business or you don't know your numbers, it's a problem. I said, yeah, it's kind of like not stepping, if like saying you want to get in shape, but not ever stepping on the scale to know if you've made a difference, is you have to start with a ground zero. So we do a lot of audits for people where we sit down and go, look, we're going to do a top to bottom analysis of your salon and say like, hey, what's going on in your salon and what are some areas? Because we might look at your salon and see that there's some failure points that you don't even know about. Be like, hey, it actually looks like you're top loaded. Like, what do you mean I'm top loaded? Well, it means that you have a whole bunch of people that have been in your salon for years and years at your highest level of commission and not enough new people and not enough in the middle. Like, we can start to look at some of those things and figure out what's going on. Or if you're like, another indicator would be if you have more month than your money, meaning you get to the end of the month and you're out of cash by day 20, that's a problem, because if by day 25, you're like, oh my God, there's not enough money to pay the bills. And you're constantly having to like give up some of your income or, float some of your cash back in the bank or whatever. Or maybe you're working behind the chair and you're not really paying yourself a proper salary. Those would be some indicators that you've got some holes in your salon owner bucket that are not there. And going back to what I started talking about at the beginning of this session, which was only 7% of salons make money. And by the way, 7% of salons actually make a profit, which is why I wrote Profitable Salon Owner, right? It was not only does it make a profit, but most of those salons are barely eking out 1% to 2% profit. So if you're not making a 5 or 7% profit, and by the way, I'm not talking about an accounting profit, I'm talking about a cash profit. And if you're like, Jason, what's the difference between a cash profit and an accounting profit? If you don't know, then that's a blind spot, right? So I'm not saying these things to try and overwhelm you. I'm just saying these things to say there might be some areas in your business that you don't understand if you're not sure what a cash profit versus an accounting profit is. And I'll tell you on this call, if you don't know the terminology, that's okay. But here's what it is. The end of the year, you talk to your accountant and they say, hey, congratulations, business owner. You've made 20 grand, 50 grand. 200 grand. It doesn't really matter. Whatever the number is, they said you make it. And you're like, well, that's great, but that's not the amount of money in my bank account. I can't spend it. Profit as an accounting profit is actually not spendable. Meaning I could have $0 in my bank account and my accountant could high five me and tell me that I made $100,000. I have no money in my bank account. And I have to pay taxes on that $100,000 that's not even in my bank account. What? Welcome to being a business owner. You made $100,000. You owe 30, 40 grand to the government and there's no money in your bank account. That's gross. That happens. And that happens to salon owners all the time. Happens to all kinds of business owners all the time. They don't understand taxes and accounting and profit and all those things. So when we talk about a cash profit, the cash profit and the profit that you realize for your company and for your business is if you deposit that profit directly in your bank account. And profit is also not your salary. It's also not your business owner income. It's not all those things. It's literally a reward. I'm getting excited. I'm slurring my words. It's a reward for you opening the business and taking the risk and banking on yourself. And if you don't take that money out of the business and you're like, well, I'm reinvesting it. Well, that's BS. That's actually not profit. If you're reinvesting it, it's not profit. No matter what your accountant tells you, it's not profit. So if I'm firing you up about any of this stuff, and you're like, damn it, these are actually things that have happened to me. Can I sell myself out here?
Please do.
These are all things that have happened to me.
That's why
these are all things that I sat down with my accountant and I was like, why don't I have a cash profit? And they're like, well, because you reinvested in this and then you did this and you bought this and that's not, it doesn't count towards the operations expense. And you're like, oh, and that's 16, 17 years of me running a business. I mean, I ran this business for 16, 17 years. I have 5 years of running other businesses. So 20 plus years of experience running businesses. And every single one of those was like, oops, I ran out of money before I, finished the month, or I had this problem. And like, I just want to pass on as many of those lessons to you guys and say, if I had those experiences, I can shortcut you from having to have those. Would it be okay if I shortcut you right now? And what if I had a whole community that helps you do that with hundreds of other business owners that have also had experiences and they can shortcut you too? We're going to reduce your learning curve to half or better just because you're around smart people. And I say smart people that were dumb that got smart.
Yeah. People all started where you were. They didn't have a plan. They didn't know. And it's like, when you talk about this, like it's so exciting to know that that's possible for you and your salon. You're over there. Like if you went the other direction of like that, how on earth are those people doing that? And it's not going to happen overnight. We're not going to be like, hey, you can take 5% out right now. There's a whole process to that in terms of like everywhere that we are saying that you can get to in your salon and have all of these things. There's a process and a way to go through that to get you to where you need to be. So it's not like, oh, you're going to, find people that can support you in that. And then it just gets all chaotic. It's like, no, we meet you where you're at and start where you're at and then take those.
Figure out where your blind spots are.
Yeah. Figure out where your blind spots are and start taking those little steps to move you that direction. And it could take you a year to get to that point. It could take you 5. Right. It depends on you and your capacity, what you're working on, but just knowing about it and moving towards it, you're going to end up much better than you are in this moment unless you don't do something about it.
Yeah. And I think this is the other question, no matter what. And I know this probably sounds a little pitchy for like the academy and I'm talking about what we do, but I want to tell you like the reason why I'm sharing all these insights is like, we basically set up the perfect plan for you to get into this mode of being successful. So it's kind of hard to not just sound like, duh, we do it in the academy. So I apologize if some of you guys are listening. You're like, I only listen to Kayla because it's not pitchy. I totally get it. I don't know who that was. They were very old and very grumpy, but I want to just say this is like, I'm just trying to tell you the things that we do because we found it works. Yeah. Right. And we found it works over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And I think there's a couple other things you can do. Not only figure out what's broken, get an assessment, get some sort of eval. I mean, you can pay somebody else to come in and evaluate your business. It's not me. Go pay some consultant to do a top to bottom evaluation. But then the next thing you got to figure out is get help from somebody you like learning from and get it in massive doses in a group that will hold you accountable to what you say you will do. So like I'm in groups. And somebody the other day said to me, I said, hey, I just did this thing. And they were like, how does it feel, Jason, waiting 2.5 years from when we said you should do that? And I was like, burn. And by the way, this was yesterday, literally was yesterday. Somebody said, weren't you working on that 2.5 years ago? And it hurt and it stung. And don't get me wrong, I've had successes in lots of areas, but this was one specific area of my life that I had not cleaned up. And they were like, it's 2.5 years overdue. And I was like, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. And it's like, you want to be around a group. Like, can I just say, I love being in that group because it's honest.
Yeah.
Like that group for me is willing to punch me in the face, even though they know I'm probably not going to like it. They're like, take your fucking medicine, Jason. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. I should take my medicine. Yeah. And I should. I do. I can. And when I choose to, they are willing to point it out to me because next time I might do it faster.
Ready to transform your business and improve your salon's profitability? With Lonza's 3-in-1 technology and intermixable shades, your hair color inventory is streamlined with limitless creativity behind the chair. Click the link below to unveil the secret to salon success.
Sustain Beauty Co. has 2 of the best tools to help you save water, time, and a bunch of money. Join the clean water salon movement with EcoHead's water-saving shampoo nozzles and scrummy plant-based microfiber towels. Available at sustainbeauty.co.
You know, now I'm a big fan of divine timing, and maybe it was just my time to do it and all these other things, and that's fine. I don't mean to eye roll it when I say that, but I just mean it as, don't you want to be around people that ask more of you than you ask of yourself, that push you really, really hard and say, I want you to be an excellent version of yourself. And I won't stand for when you are poor to yourself and poor to others. Because if you can't trust yourself, why do you think you can trust others? And if you're telling me that you can't trust anybody, that's gonna come back and bite you in the butt, because in order to run a business, it requires that you trust people.
Wow. That's so powerful. And I hope that you hear too, like in listening to that, like just as much as Jason owns a business and coaching other people in business, like he himself has coaches and people, a group that he supports too. Exactly.
I have 5 coaches.
Because they all come in different ways. They all support in different ways.
Yeah. And I was on the phone with 2 different coaches yesterday, and actually no, two different yesterday, one the day before. I mean, I have coaches for different areas of my life. You've probably heard me talk about this ad nauseum, I'm sure, but I just tell you because I have different areas. When I'm out of accountability, I was on with one of my coaches. I'm like, man, I've been eating really poorly. He's like, all right, how do we get back on track? It's like, all right, let's put a plan in place. Let's do it. Because I think this is the other thing. Remember, working out is not a one-time job. Parenting is not like you show up for the first year and then their kid's fine. Like
I wish.
You are constantly parenting. You are constantly running your team. You are constantly learning about finances. You are constantly doing those things. And anything you've decided you've already learned, that is a deficit. And I tell people this all the time. If you feel like you've hit a level of success that you're happy with, it's time for you to set a bigger goal, because you become a big fish in a small pond.
Yeah.
Right. And I was like, all right, like if I'm like, oh, we're doing really good and like everything's going like, success should scare you. And if success doesn't scare you, then you're delusional. Right. So when I get to a mode where I look around, I'm like, wow, everybody's really doing good. Like we just had our last destination training. Everybody was killing it. Everybody's doing really, really well. And I was like, man, I got to step it up. Because like, I got to step up my game. If everybody's killing it, and everybody's feeling very stable and secure and whatever, I'm not saying I want to go in and mix the pot up. That's what a novice business owner does. A novice business owner goes in and makes things more chaotic to feel like things are there. A seasoned business owner, which hopefully I am, still working on it, but a seasoned business owner goes, hey, it's time for me to go mix up what I'm doing so I can become the better version, to allow more people for other, like if people are starting to catch me, then I need to grow again. And so instead of me going and messing with the pot and screwing people's lives up, I need to be a better version of myself so that my team can show up and be a better version of myself, because they can't step into greatness if you're already standing there.
Wow. But you didn't know you're going to get a love punch out of this episode.
But right, I mean, Kayla, you work with team, is like they can't step into your role if you're still standing there. So if you're like, wow, my team's doing really, really great and I'm really happy with all their productions and whatever else is going on, it's time for you to grow. It's time for you to grow into that. And by the way, growth can come from up, down, sideways, left. It doesn't really matter. You can grow your team from the bottom, from the top, and all those different areas. But the idea is that if you're satisfied with where you're doing, it's time for you to grow again. And you got to surround yourself with people who are always looking to grow. And when you're around people that are constantly growing, then growth is just normal. And that's what it should feel like. It should feel like a normal part of somebody going through the evolution of growth, is like stretching outside their comfort zone, going past their fear zone, into their discomfort zone, all the way into the growth zone, so that they're growing, and you'll start to grow other people on your team that say, I want to grow just like I observe you grow.
Yeah. And I hope that you hear this. Like, it's not just about growing your business and learning about your business. It's about growing you as a human being and becoming the best version of yourself. Because if you're not taking care of you as a human being on this planet, then everything else you do is going to be affected by that. Because you can learn as much as you want about business and about raising a family and about being married, and you can learn all of those things. But if you aren't learning about yourself, learning how to grow you as a human being, that's also a huge component. Get yourself surrounded by people who are successful and are in those elements, but also are growing as human beings, because you can't focus your attention on everything else around you and then neglect focusing on yourself as a person as well.
100%.
I love that. Wow. So powerful.
Yeah. And I think there's one other thing that came to mind for me too in there, Kayla, that I just want to say in there is a lot of people, we were just doing a Kicking It. By the way, if you haven't seen a Kicking It in our Profitable Salon Owner Facebook group, you should jump in. And Kayla and I were recording one earlier today. And one of the things that was going on is that I had this thought. People ask these questions like, how do I get my team to do this? How do I get my team to do this? And I go, if your team doesn't have a framework of personal growth where they're all trying to get better at the same time, everything you're going to try and do with them is going to be a battle. Versus on our team, everybody on our team is invested in some level of personal growth. And you can tell, Kayla, when people are on our team and they don't really care about personal growth, I'm like, our team will spit you out. They're like, hey, you're not growing. right? Like, and it's hard because there's people who have even been spit out of our team that are into personal growth and they get spit out because they're the wrong fit and they don't grow the same way that everybody grows. They don't grow as fast as everybody grows, and people get spit out. So I think the deal that I want to give you is another bonus tip of like, how do you get out of it, is create a culture of personal growth that everybody's excited to read and grow and be better and do some great things. And like, when you create that environment that everybody wants to be better, your ability to change people and let them debrief themselves or just look at themselves objectively and say, how do I get better? Because if you don't have that environment, then they'll say it's your fault, owner, it's your fault, manager, it's your fault, whatever, because it clearly can't be mine. But that idea of personal growth starts with the idea that it might be my fault first. And even when you're working with your team, right? A team shows up and they're like, I have this problem. And like, man, did I train you properly? Because that's me taking accountability. Is, did I train you properly, or are you just an idiot? Right? That's the attitude. People are like, you must be an idiot. Clearly, I hired you to do a job. You're not doing it. You must be an idiot. Versus, man, maybe I didn't provide the training that I needed to provide you with, and let me fix that.
I love that. This is like, again, coming from like, for me, growing in this company, being a leader myself and having to face those same things of like, I don't necessarily own this business, but I do feel like in my own
But you take ownership of it. You take ownership of your role. That's why you're here, and I appreciate how
I show up as a leader. And, you said, people who come to work with us, like they say that you are a reflection of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Well, I can guarantee at work, I spend the most people with the
most time with these people. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And so if you are around people and they're not growing you, like sharpening you, like we have, in my opinion, I mean, I've not worked a lot of like,
you're biased because you work at our company.
Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
Yeah.
But we have a lot of like healthy competition in terms of like, we are all trying to be the best version of ourselves and encouraging the other person to do it too. It's not like, right, oh, like she got to do this, why didn't I? It's like, oh man, like I'm so proud of you and I'm working on this, and getting into a place where you're creating a culture in our environment. I love that about our culture, is that we sharpen each other, we grow each other, and we don't finger point, things like that, which goes back to, we've talked many times about code of honor. If we go back to our code of honor and it really glues us together of a way to hold ourselves accountable to the same set of rules or same set of guidelines that help us operate to what it is. So I love that it reflect on yourself and reflect on the people who are around you and build a leadership team and have those people who come in and support you, because you don't have a salon without your team. And so pouring into them and helping them grow as human beings, if they see you growing, they're going to grow too.
Yeah. And I just want to wrap this into you is help every one of you that's paying attention, listening, or watching this thing. Is if you don't have that type of culture that your whole team is working on each other's growth and doing all those things, and you really need some support. And yes, you can read some books and do whatever you want, but librarians are not rich. They just curate the book. So it's not about what's in the books. It's what you do with what you read in the book. So please do me a favor and start learning about culture. I mean, look, if you want our Profitable Salon Owner book, I'll give it to you for free, for crying out loud. Just say book in the comments and we'll give you a free copy. It's not about the book. It's about what you do with it. Because believe it or not, this sounds silly, but like all the concepts that we teach in the academy are actually inside the book. And even our clients read it and they're like, this is great, Jason, but like, I still need to get it done. And I'm like, I know, that's what the academy's for, right? It's like, I can give away the ideas for free because the implementation is where the value is. And so if I can get you to implement it and figure out what's stopping you, what's in your way, and why are you still not doing the things you should be doing, that's where coaching is the most valuable. And if anybody ever tries to sell you information and coaching and not implementation, man, run, because it is, information's great. Implementation is best.
That's so powerful. That's amazing. Well, thank you so much, Jason, for this. Hopefully you got
Thank you for having me on this podcast of yours, Kayla. It's my pleasure to come and hang out with you.
It is my pleasure to have you as my guest on my podcast, Jason.
Hopefully I'll get invited back in the future on this podcast.
We'll see. If you want Jason to be invited back, invite him back or
they're
something
like
that.
No. They're like, we love all the other guests better than Jason. It's all good. Well, thanks for having me on, Kayla, for real.
Absolutely. It's always a pleasure to get to know, because I know the amount of experience, and I love getting to know like your experience and how it translates to like, you've been through a lot, you've experienced a lot, and through that experience you want to share with others, so then other people can learn from your mistakes, but also become better through that as you've grown through them and help other people grow through them. So if you've got a lot of this podcast, please let us know. If you want that Salon Success Test, there's going to be a number in the description. Just text the number TEST to that number, and I will send you the link to the Salon Success Test if you want to check out where your salon's at. Completely free. It's not, you just can take the test. That's all it is a test.
It's quick. It's free. Totally free.
Quick. It's free. You too could have it. If you order the next 10 minutes, you could have it
for free. Still free. And wait a second, you got 2 more for free. Also, if you text that same number, the word book, you should get a copy of the book for free. So
I would absolutely love to send you a copy of the book.
Heck
So
yeah.
thank you for hanging out with the Profitable Salon Owner Podcast, and we'll see you next time.
See you guys.
You've been listening to the Profitable Salon Owner Podcast. Be sure to like, subscribe, leave us a review, and check us out at profitablesalon.com for more episodes, content, and to help you turn your salon into the business you've always dreamt of.